Commander Lisa Roberts stood at the viewport of Earth Defense Force Command, her blue eyes fixed on the distant stars. The coffee in her hand had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. Something was wrong with the diplomatic mission, and everyone in the command center could feel it. "Commander," Lieutenant Frank Miller's voice cracked with urgency. "We're receiving an emergency transmission from Ambassador Nash's ship." Lisa rushed to the communications station, her heart pounding. The mission was supposed to be humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council. They had spent years preparing for this moment, making sure everything would go perfectly. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Ambassador Robert Nash's face. His usually neat gray hair was disheveled, and his diplomatic uniform looked wrinkled. Fear showed clearly in his eyes. "Earth Command, this is Ambassador Nash. We have a situation." His voice trembled slightly. "The Galactic Council has quarantined our ship. They're saying we're a threat to reality itself. I don't understand what's happening." Lisa exchanged worried glances with her second-in-command, Captain Steve Bennett. "Ambassador, can you explain what they mean by threat to reality?" "They detected something about our ship's drive signature." Nash wiped sweat from his forehead. "Their scientists started screaming in their alien languages when they analyzed it. The Council's chief observer, some being called the Eternal Eye, said our ship shouldn't be possible. They're treating us like we're carrying a doomsday weapon." The command center fell silent. Their ships used standard human technology, the observer drive that powered all their vessels. It had been humanity's greatest achievement, allowing them to cross vast distances by using human consciousness to bend space-time. "Are you in any immediate danger?" Lisa asked, already calculating possible rescue scenarios. "No, they're being careful with us. Almost too careful." Nash gave a nervous laugh. "They're treating our ship like it might explode and take out half the galaxy. They've surrounded us with some kind of containment field, but they won't come within 1,000,000 kilometers of us." Captain Bennett leaned forward. "Have they made any demands?" "They want to know how many ships like ours exist." Nash's image flickered. "When I told them this was standard human technology, they—" He paused, swallowing hard. 3 of their council members fainted. Actually fainted. The others started performing what looked like prayer rituals. "Lisa, what the hell is going on?" Lisa's mind raced. Humanity had been using observer drives for 15 years. They were on everything from warships to cargo vessels. If there was something fundamentally wrong with the technology, why hadn't they noticed? "Send us all their scientific data," she ordered. "We need to understand what they're seeing that we don't." The data began streaming in, filling multiple screens with alien measurements and observations. Dr. Ann Clark, their leading physicist, stepped forward to analyze it. Her face grew paler with each passing moment. "Commander," she whispered, "according to their measurements, our ships are impossible. They're detecting quantum states that shouldn't exist, reality distortions that break every known law of physics. But only when humans are operating the ships." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, only when humans are operating them?" "The aliens tried to run some of our ships with their own crews during the initial greeting ceremony," Nash's hologram explained. "The drives didn't work for them at all. But when our people operated them," he shuddered, "they said we were tearing holes in the universe just by thinking." The implications hit Lisa like a physical blow. Humanity had built an entire space fleet that apparently violated the fundamental laws of reality, and they hadn't even realized it. Every human ship was essentially a reality-breaking nightmare by alien standards. "Ambassador," she said carefully, "maintain diplomatic contact. Tell them we had no idea our technology was unusual. We need to understand what we're doing that seems so impossible to them." After the transmission ended, Lisa turned to her staff. The command center buzzed with nervous energy as people processed what they'd learned. "Get me the Admiralty," she ordered, "and contact Neptune Research Station. If our ships are breaking reality, Dr. Price needs to figure out why, And someone get me a fresh coffee. I have a feeling this is going to be a very long day. Captain Bennett appeared at her side. What do we do if they decide we're too dangerous to join the galactic community? Lisa watched the stars through the viewport, thinking about the thousands of human ships out there, each one apparently tearing at the fabric of reality simply by existing. We hope they understand we come in peace, she said quietly. Because if they don't, we might have to show them exactly why they're so afraid of our ships. In the following hours, more data poured in from the diplomatic mission. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session to discuss the human situation. Representatives from 50 alien species were debating whether humanity should be contained, studied, or approached with extreme caution. Lisa received a private message from Ambassador Nash that made her blood run cold. They're scanning Earth now. When they detected how many observer drives we have in operation, their entire defense fleet jumped to a different star system out of fear. Commander, I don't think we're going to be able to keep this quiet. The galaxy just realized that humans are reality-bending horrors, and we didn't even know it. She stared at the message for a long moment, then began drafting orders. If humanity's ships were as dangerous as the aliens believed, they needed to understand why. And if their technology truly broke the laws of physics, they needed to know how to use that knowledge to protect Earth if things went wrong. As she worked, Lisa couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity had dreamed of finding its place among the stars, proving they could stand alongside alien civilizations. Instead, they'd accidentally revealed themselves to be the scary space monsters that broke reality just by existing. Send a message to all Earth Defense Force ships, she told Lieutenant Miller. Code Yellow Alert. All vessels to maintain normal operations but be ready for anything. She paused, then added, and tell them not to think too hard about how their drives work. Apparently, it scares the aliens. The lieutenant nodded, trying to hide his own nervous smile. As the orders went out, Lisa returned to the viewport, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, Ambassador Nash was trying to convince a terrified galaxy that humanity hadn't meant to break the universe. She just hoped they'd listen before someone did something they'd all regret. The next few hours would determine whether humanity's first contact led to peaceful cooperation or conflict. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. Neither would humanity's understanding of their place in it. 6 months earlier, Neptune Research Station. Dr. Alan Price rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the test results on his screen. The numbers made no sense, but they were consistent across every experiment. He had checked the equipment 20 times, and still, the results remained the same. Hey, boss. Linda Myers, his research assistant, walked into the lab carrying 2 cups of coffee. You look like you've seen a ghost. Not a ghost. Ellen took the coffee gratefully. Something much stranger. Remember how we've been trying to figure out why the quantum drive tests only work with human operators? Linda sat down beside him. The Neptune Research Station's lab hummed quietly around them, various machines collecting data from their latest experiments. Through the reinforced windows, they could see Neptune's blue surface glowing in the distance. Look at these readings, Alan pointed to his screen. When we use robot operators or computer control, the drive fails. But when a human sits in the control seat, even if they don't touch anything, the quantum fields stabilize perfectly. Linda leaned closer to the screen. That can't be right. You're saying human presence alone affects quantum states. Not just affects them. Ellen pulled up another set of data. We're changing them by observing them. It's like the old quantum physics paradox about observation affecting results, but on a massive scale. He stood up and walked to the test chamber window. Inside, their latest prototype drive sat silent and dark. It was smaller than the ones used in spaceships, perfect for running controlled experiments. Watch this, he said, pressing the intercom. Jake, you can start the test. Inside the chamber, Jake Porter, their test operator, sat down at the control panel. He didn't touch anything. That was part of the experiment. The drive began to hum, its quantum core glowing with a soft blue light. Now watch the readings. Alan pointed to the display. The numbers began to shift, reality itself bending around the drive core. But the strange part wasn't that it worked. They had seen that before. The strange part was that it worked better than it should have. The human mind, Alan explained, doesn't just observe quantum states. It changes them. We're not just watching reality. We're reshaping it with our consciousness. Linda's coffee cup slipped from her hand, spilling across the floor. Neither of them moved to clean it up. "Are you saying," she whispered, "that humans have some kind of reality warping power?" "Not exactly." Alan pulled up more data. "It's more like our brains evolved to perceive reality in a way that lets us bend it. Every human does it naturally, all the time, on a tiny scale. We just never notice because it's normal for us." He brought up a simulation on the main screen. "Look what happens when we amplify this effect through the drive system. The human operator's perception literally creates a bubble of altered space-time. We're not breaking physics. We're rewriting it by thinking." The implications were staggering. Every human ship that used their drive technology wasn't just traveling through space. It was warping reality around itself, guided by the crew's collective consciousness. "We need to tell the Defense Force," Linda said, already reaching for her communicator. "Wait." Alan held up his hand. "We need to understand this better first, if every human can do this naturally." He trailed off, his mind racing with possibilities. Over the next few weeks, they ran more tests. They brought in volunteers from all over the station. Engineers, janitors, cooks, everyone. The results were always the same. Every human could make the drive work just by being near it, though some had stronger effects than others. They discovered that emotional states affected the results. Calm, focused operators created stable fields. Stressed or angry operators caused fluctuations. It explained why military crews, trained to stay calm under pressure, had the best performance records with the drives. 1 month into their research, they had their first accident. A test operator got nervous during an experiment, and his anxiety created a feedback loop in the quantum field. The resulting reality distortion turned half their coffee cups inside out. Literally, the inside became the outside, while the outside became the inside. "Well," Alan had said, staring at the twisted cups, "at least we know why they gave us those safety protocols about keeping calm during drive operation." As their research continued, they began to understand more about humanity's unique relationship with reality. Earth's unusual quantum environment during human evolution had shaped their brains differently than any other known species might have developed. Humans hadn't just adapted to their environment. They had adapted to the quantum nature of reality itself. "It's like we're all reality hackers," Jake said during one test session. "We found an exploit in the universe's code without even knowing it." The breakthrough came when they managed to map the exact way human consciousness affected quantum fields. They weren't creating energy or breaking conservation laws. They were simply perceiving reality in a way that made certain impossible things possible. "Think of it like this," Alan explained to the station staff during their weekly briefing. "If reality is a computer program, most beings just use the user interface. But humans, we accidentally learn to edit the source code just by looking at it funny." The implications for their ships were enormous. Every vessel in the human fleet was essentially a reality warping bubble, powered by the collective consciousness of its crew. They weren't forcing their way through space. They were rewriting the local laws of physics to make their passage possible. As Alan prepared his final report for Earth Defense Force Command, he couldn't help but wonder how other spacefaring races would react to this discovery. Would they see it as a threat, a gift, a violation of universal law? "Send it," Linda urged, standing beside his desk. "They need to know what we've discovered." Alan looked at the report one last time. The title seemed to stare back at him: Human Consciousness, the Accidental Reality Engine. "You know what the funny part is," he said as he hit send. "We've been doing this since we first evolved. Every human who ever lived has been quietly rewriting tiny pieces of reality without knowing it. We just finally built machines that could amplify it. Linda smiled. Maybe that's why we survived as a species. Reality didn't shape us. We shaped it. As the report transmitted toward Earth, Alan watched Neptune's clouds swirl outside his window. Somewhere out there, humanity's ships were flying between the stars, each one carrying a crew of unconscious reality sculptors. He wondered if they were ready for the day when other species discovered what humans could do. Because one thing was certain. Once they knew, nothing would ever be the same again. Senior diplomat Karen Wells had faced many challenges in her career, but trying to explain humanity to a room full of terrified aliens was proving to be her toughest assignment yet. The Galactic Council's meeting chamber was enormous, with curved walls that stretched up into darkness. Representatives from 50 alien species sat in rising tiers, all staring down at her. Their faces, some with tentacles, others with multiple eyes, and some that were just clouds of light, all showed the same emotion: fear. "Please understand," Karen said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "We didn't know we were doing anything unusual. The observer drive is simple technology from our perspective." The chief scientist of the council, a tall being named Zix-427, who looked like a collection of crystal rods, moved forward. Its voice came through Karen's translator with a trembling note. "Simple? Simple." The crystals flickered with bright colors. "Your species casually breaks the laws of physics. We watched your ship's drive in operation. Do you know what we saw? Reality itself screaming as your crew's minds tore holes in it." Karen took a deep breath. The past 3 days had been filled with meetings like this. Every time the aliens studied human technology, they became more frightened. "Maybe if you could explain exactly what you're seeing," she suggested. "Because to us, the drives just work. We turn them on, think about where we want to go, and they take us there." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing readings from a human ship's drive. The alien scientists had added visual effects to show what they detected. Karen's eyes widened as she watched reality itself bend and twist around the ship's hull. "Your consciousness," another alien scientist said, "this one a floating cloud of purple gas, doesn't just observe quantum states, it changes them. Every human mind acts like a reality engine, forcing the universe to accept impossible things as possible. Your ships aren't traveling through space, they're rewriting the rules of existence." Karen watched the hologram, finally understanding why the aliens were so scared. To them, every human ship was like a nightmare given form, powered by minds that could reshape reality. "And you say all humans can do this?" asked a small, furry alien from the upper tier. "Even your children?" "Yes," Karen answered honestly. "Though we need the drives to do anything noticeable. Without technology to focus and amplify our abilities, the effect is too small to detect." The chamber erupted in nervous whispers. Several representatives moved back in their seats, as if trying to get further away from her. "The real question," said the council leader, a being made of flowing water held in a transparent suit, "is what to do about this situation. Humanity has developed technology that should not be possible, powered by an ability that should not exist." Karen straightened her shoulders. This was the moment she had been preparing for. "We propose cooperation," she said firmly. "Yes, our technology is different. Yes, our minds work in ways you find frightening. But we're not your enemies. We want to learn from you, and we're willing to teach you about our technology in return." "Teach us." Zix-427's crystals paled. "Your drives only work for humans. When our test pilots tried to operate your ships, nothing happened. The quantum fields remained stable only in the presence of human consciousness." "Then maybe we can find a middle ground," Karen suggested. "You understand the universe in ways we don't. We clearly interact with reality differently than any species you've met. Together, we might discover things neither of us could learn alone." The council leader's water form swirled thoughtfully. And if we decide humanity is too dangerous to join the galactic community? Karen's voice remained calm, but her words carried weight. Then you should remember that every human ship in space is capable of doing things you consider impossible. We don't want conflict. We never have. But we will defend ourselves if necessary. More nervous whispers filled the chamber. Karen noticed some representatives nodding slowly, not in fear, but in understanding. They had finally realized that humanity wasn't trying to be threatening. They simply existed in a way that changed the rules. There's something else you should know, she added. Our scientists recently discovered why we can do these things. Earth's unusual quantum environment during our evolution shaped our brains to perceive and interact with reality differently. We're not breaking universal laws. We're just reading them in a way you never imagined was possible. The chief scientist moved closer, its crystal form glowing with curiosity now instead of fear. You're saying your entire species evolved as natural quantum manipulators? Yes, Karen smiled. And we'd be happy to share our research. All we ask is to be accepted as equals, not treated as monsters because we're different. The council chamber grew quiet as the aliens discussed among themselves. Karen waited patiently, knowing this moment would decide humanity's place in the galaxy. Finally, the council leader spoke. We will need time to study this situation further. But your words have merit, Diplomat Wells. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other. Thank you, Karen said. And while you consider your decision, remember this. Humanity didn't develop our technology to frighten anyone. We built it because we dreamed of meeting you among the stars. Yes, our ships may bend reality, but we use that power to explore and connect, not to threaten or destroy. As the session ended, several alien representatives approached Karen privately. They seemed less afraid now, more curious. One of them, a being of pure energy, spoke through the translator. Your species terrifies us, it said honestly. But perhaps that fear comes from our own limited understanding of reality's true nature. Will you teach us how you see the universe? Karen smiled warmly. Of course. And in return, maybe you can help us understand why our natural abilities seem so impossible to everyone else. Later, in her private quarters aboard the human diplomatic vessel, Karen sent her report to Earth Command. The situation was still tense, but there was hope. The aliens were beginning to understand that humanity's reality-bending powers weren't a weapon. They were simply part of who they were. As she looked out at the alien ships keeping their careful distance from her vessel, she couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Humans had spent centuries wondering if they would be seen as equals by advanced alien civilizations. Instead, they had to convince those civilizations that they weren't too advanced to be safe. Maybe that's the real first contact challenge, she said to herself. Not proving we're smart enough to join them, but showing them they don't need to fear how smart we accidentally became. Her ship's observer drive hummed quietly, its quantum fields shaped by the minds of its crew. As natural as breathing to them, but terrifying to everyone else in the galaxy. Tomorrow would bring more meetings, more explanations, more attempts to bridge the gap between humanity's reality-bending nature and alien understanding. But for now, Karen was content knowing they had taken the first steps toward acceptance. The galaxy might see humans as reality-warping horrors, but at least they were starting to see them as friendly ones. Fleet Admiral Jennifer Cole stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, watching the tactical display with growing concern. 30 alien warships had just appeared near the human colony of New Haven. They weren't responding to hails. Status report, she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. They're from the Razak Coalition, Admiral, Lieutenant Dan White reported. A militant faction that broke away from the Galactic Council. Their weapons are charged. Jennifer had feared something like this would happen. Not every alien species had accepted the Council's decision to work with humanity. Some thought humans were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. All hands to battle stations, she commanded. But no one fires unless I give the order. Maybe we can still talk our way out of this. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Through the view screen, Jennifer could see 3 other human ships taking up defensive positions around the colony. They were outnumbered, but numbers weren't everything. The alien commander finally responded to their hails. Its image appeared on the main screen, a being with metallic scales and 4 eyes. "This is Supreme Commander Kraz of the Razak Coalition," it announced. "Your colony violates natural law. Your ships are abominations. Surrender now, and we will make your extinction quick and painless." Jennifer kept her voice calm. "This is Fleet Admiral Cole. We have no wish to fight. The Galactic Council has already." "The Council is weak," Kraz interrupted. "They would let reality-bending monsters roam free among the stars. We will not allow it." On the tactical display, the alien ships began moving toward the colony. Jennifer looked at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. They all knew what was at stake. "Last warning, Commander Kraz," she said firmly. "Withdraw your ships, or we will defend ourselves." The alien commander made a sound like grinding metal, probably laughter. 4 ships against 30. Your confidence is as twisted as your existence." "Lieutenant White," Jennifer said quietly, "show them why they should be afraid." The human ships activated their observer drives at full power. To the alien sensors, reality itself seemed to scream. The quantum fields around the human vessels began to twist and bend, creating effects that should have been impossible. The EDF Defender phased partially out of normal space, becoming ghost-like. Another human ship, the EDF Guardian, split into 3 identical copies, each one as real as the original. The EDF Valiant wrapped space around itself like a cloak, while the EDF Sentinel began existing in multiple places simultaneously. Through the command channel, Jennifer heard alien crews panicking. Their sensors couldn't make sense of what they were seeing. Some of their targeting systems simply shut down, unable to process ships that broke the laws of physics. "By the void," Kraz's voice shook. "What are you doing?" "We're not doing anything unusual," Jennifer replied calmly. "This is just how human ships work. Still want to fight?" The alien fleet opened fire. Their energy weapons and missiles passed harmlessly through the phase-shifted Defender. The Guardian's 3 copies returned fire from impossible angles, their weapons enhanced by the crew's unified consciousness. "Focus fire on the colony," Kraz ordered his fleet. "These abominations can't protect everyone at once." He was wrong. The Valiant appeared between the aliens and their target, the space around it so twisted that their weapons fire curved away harmlessly. Meanwhile, the Sentinel attacked from 12 different positions, simultaneously, its quantum field allowing it to exist at multiple points in spacetime. Jennifer watched as the alien fleet fell into chaos. Some ships tried to retreat, their engines overloading as they attempted to escape. Others fired blindly, their crews too terrified to aim properly. "Admiral," White reported, "they're calling for reinforcements." "Good," Jennifer said. "Let them bring more ships. Let them all see what happens when you threaten human colonies." The battle lasted another 20 minutes. Not a single human ship was destroyed. The alien fleet, however, lost 8 vessels to their own friendly fire, and 5 more to drive system failures caused by panic-stricken crews. When it was over, Commander Kraz's ship hung dead in space, its engines burned out from trying to escape the quantum distortions created by human drives. "This is impossible," Kraz whispered over the command channel. "No species should be able to do these things." "That's the point you're missing," Jennifer told him. "We don't do these things because we should be able to. We do them because we don't know we shouldn't be able to. Reality works differently around humans. That's not our fault, and we're tired of being treated like monsters because of it." She ordered her ships to stand down, their reality-bending effects fading to normal levels. The surviving alien vessels hung motionless, their crews too shocked to act. "Return to your territory," Jennifer commanded. "Tell your coalition what you saw here. Tell them that humanity doesn't want war. But if they force us to fight, we'll show them exactly why they call our ships reality-shattering. As the alien fleet limped away, Jennifer received a priority message from Earth Command. Similar attacks had been attempted at 3 other colonies. All had been repelled, with the human ships using their unique abilities to end the fights quickly. "Send a message to all colonies," she ordered. "Full alert status until further notice. And contact the Galactic Council. Tell them what happened here. They need to understand that some of their people are trying to start a war they can't win." Later, in her private quarters, Jennifer reviewed the battle footage. The alien ships had fought bravely, but they never had a chance. How could they fight enemies who could bend reality itself? "Computer," she said quietly, "send a personal message to Commander Kraz." She waited for the connection to establish. "Commander, I hope you understand now. We don't want to be your enemies. We don't want to frighten you. But we will not apologize for existing, and we will not allow anyone to threaten our people. The choice is yours. Learn to live with us, or learn why the rest of the galaxy fears our ships." As her message transmitted across space, Jennifer looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Razak Coalition was learning a lesson about humanity that the Galactic Council had already figured out. Humans weren't evil because they could bend reality. They were just different. And if forced to fight, that difference made them terrifying. Dr. Paul Martinez stood in the newly built Joint Species Research Center on Mars, watching as alien scientists carefully set up their equipment. After the battle at New Haven, the Galactic Council had finally agreed that understanding human abilities was better than fearing them. "Are you ready to begin?" asked Exetel, the lead alien researcher. The being's crystalline form sparkled under the lab's lights. "Ready," Paul nodded. "Though I still don't understand why you wanted to do the tests here on Mars instead of Earth. Your homeworld's quantum field is too active," Sheetal explained. "It interferes with our measurements. Mars is quieter." They had converted an old mining facility into the most advanced research lab in the solar system. Human and alien scientists worked side by side, trying to understand why human consciousness affected reality so differently from other species. In the main test chamber, a young human pilot named Amy Clark sat in a modified ship's control chair. Alien sensors surrounded her, measuring everything from brainwaves to quantum fluctuations. "Beginning Test Series 1, Paul announced. "Amy, please activate the quantum field, but don't try to shape it yet." Amy closed her eyes. The air around her began to shimmer as her consciousness naturally interacted with quantum states. The alien scientists moved back nervously, even though they knew they were safe. "Fascinating." Gitel's crystals flickered with excitement. "Look at these readings. Her mind is creating stable quantum tunnels without any technological help." Paul studied the data flowing across his screens. "That's normal for humans. We do it all the time, usually without noticing. The drides just amplify what we naturally do." In another part of the lab, alien researchers were examining Earth rocks. They had discovered that Earth's unusual quantum environment had shaped all life on the planet, but only humans had developed the ability to consciously affect reality. "We found something," called out Dr. Susan Wright, the team's geologist. "These mineral formations, they're quantum resonators. Earth's entire crust is filled with them." Paul and Tittle hurried over to her station. The rocks under her microscope showed complex crystalline patterns that seemed to shift as they watched. "Your planet," Sheetal said with awe. "It's been naturally amplifying quantum effects for billions of years. Your species evolved in what we would consider impossible conditions." More discoveries followed as the day went on. They found the human brain structure had adapted to Earth's quantum-active environment in unique ways. Where other species' minds observed reality, human minds had learned to suggest changes to it. "It's like the difference between watching a stream and putting your hand in to change its flow," Paul explained to a group of alien observers. "We don't break physics, we just interact with it more directly than you do." The breakthrough came when they tested a group of humans working together. Amy and 5 other volunteers sat in a circle, all hooked up to the alien sensors. "Their quantum fields are synchronizing," Cheetle reported excitedly. They're creating a unified reality bubble. Paul watched in amazement as the combined consciousness of the volunteers began to affect the lab's environment. Small objects started to float, light bent in impossible ways, and for a brief moment, everyone in the room experienced time at slightly different speeds. "Stop the test," one of the alien scientists shouted. "They're going to tear reality apart." "No, they're not," Paul said calmly. "Look at the containment readings. The quantum field is completely stable. This is how human crews operate our ships, multiple minds working together to reshape local spacetime." Later that day, Captain Sandra Moore arrived from the EDF Sentinel to demonstrate how the ability worked in actual space combat. She sat in the test chair while alien sensors recorded everything. "When I'm flying," she explained, "I don't think about breaking physics. I just think about where I want my ship to be and how I want it to move. The drive translates that into quantum effects." The aliens watched in fascination as Sandra demonstrated. Her consciousness reached out through the test equipment, creating the same reality-bending effects that made human ships so terrifying in battle. "But how do you control it?" Cheetle asked. "How do you prevent your thoughts from causing random changes to reality?" Sandra smiled. "Practice. Training. And most importantly, we don't try to force reality to change. We just suggest possibilities to it. The universe usually goes along with our suggestions because, to us, they make perfect sense." As the day's tests concluded, Paul met with the joint research team to discuss their findings. The room was filled with both human and alien scientists, all excitedly sharing their discoveries. "We've confirmed that human consciousness naturally operates at the quantum level," he summarized. "Our minds evolved to treat quantum uncertainty as a tool rather than a limitation. When we built our first observer drives, we weren't inventing new technology. We were just building machines that could amplify what we already did naturally." "This explains so much," Cheetle said. "Why your ships seem impossible to us, why our pilots can't operate your drives, why human crews can coordinate reality-bending effects so easily. Your entire species thinks in quantum possibilities." One of the alien researchers, a being made of shifting shadows, raised an appendage. "But isn't this dangerous? Couldn't humans accidentally cause massive reality problems?" Paul shook his head. "Our minds evolved safety limiters. We can only affect reality in ways that make sense to us. Since we evolved in normal spacetime, we naturally avoid changes that would damage it. It's like an instinct." The implications of their research would change the galaxy forever. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were living proof that consciousness could evolve to directly interact with the quantum fabric of reality. "The real question," Paul said as they prepared to publish their findings, "is what we do with this knowledge. Now that we understand how human consciousness works, we can develop new technologies that combine our quantum sensing abilities with your advanced science." Zeitel's crystalline form glowed softly. "Perhaps that was the purpose all along. Your species developed one way of understanding reality. We developed another. Together, we might discover things neither of us could learn alone." As the sun set on Mars, Paul looked out the lab window at the red desert. Somewhere up there, human ships cruised between the stars, their crews unconsciously bending reality with every thought. But now, finally, they understood why. "We're not monsters," he said quietly. "We're not reality-breaking horrors. We're just humans, living the way Earth taught us to live, seeing the universe the way our world taught us to see it." And perhaps that was the greatest discovery of all. That being different didn't mean being wrong. It just meant having another way to understand the infinite possibilities of space and time. Ambassador Robert Nash stood before the full Galactic Council 1 year after the first contact incident. The enormous chamber felt different now, less frightening, more familiar. Even the alien representatives who had once recoiled from his presence now watched with interest. "The joint research program has been a success," he announced, his voice carrying across the chamber. "We now understand why humans can do what we do, and more importantly, how to do it safely. Commander Lisa Roberts, standing beside him, activated a holographic display. It showed the new safety protocols developed for human ships, designed to prevent accidental reality distortions. Every human vessel now carries these protective systems, Lisa explained. They don't limit our abilities, but they do make sure we can't accidentally affect neutral space. Think of it as a quantum containment field. The council leader, the being made of flowing water, moved forward. And you're certain these safeguards will prevent any unintended reality alterations. We've tested them extensively, Lisa nodded. The Razak Coalition even sent observers to verify the results. They're satisfied we can control our effects on space-time. That had been a major breakthrough. After the battle at New Haven, the Coalition had realized they couldn't defeat humanity by force. Instead, they had joined the research efforts, hoping to understand what they couldn't destroy. Show them the new ships, Robert suggested. Lisa changed the display to show the latest human vessel design. This is the EDF Harmony, our first joint species ship. The crew is half human, half alien. We provide the quantum manipulation abilities, while our alien colleagues handle the advanced technologies we're still learning to use. The chamber filled with excited whispers. The idea of humans and aliens working together on the same ship would have seemed impossible a year ago. Now it represented the future of space travel. But the most important discovery, Robert continued, wasn't about our ships at all. It was about understanding each other. Humans aren't reality-breaking monsters. We're just different. And different doesn't mean dangerous. He gestured to Dr. Alan Price, who had joined them for this historic meeting. The scientist stepped forward, carrying a small device. This is a quantum translator, Alan explained. It lets non-human species experience reality the way we do, for just a few moments. Would any council member like to try it? Several alien representatives volunteered. One by one, they used the device to briefly perceive the universe through human consciousness. Their reactions ranged from shock to wonder. "It's beautiful," said a gaseous being after its turn. "You see possibility in everything, potential in every moment. Reality isn't fixed for you. It's like a conversation between your mind and the universe." "That's exactly right," Alan smiled. "And now that you understand how we see things, maybe you can help us learn to see the universe your way too." The meeting continued with discussions of new protocols, joint ventures, and plans for the future. Humanity would join the Galactic Council as full members, but with special conditions. All human ships would carry the new safety systems, and human crews would undergo training to better control their reality-affecting abilities. Later, on the observation deck of the Council station, Lisa stood with Robert watching ships come and go through the busy space lanes. Human vessels flew alongside alien craft, their quantum fields carefully contained but still active. "Remember when they were terrified of us?" Lisa asked, sipping her coffee. Robert laughed. "Hard to forget. Now they're lining up to have human crew members on their ships. Funny how things change." Captain Sandra Moore joined them, fresh from a training session with alien cadets. "The new joint crews are working better than anyone expected. Turns out our reality-bending abilities work great with alien technology. We think in quantum possibilities. They think in technical precision. Perfect combination." Through the window, they watched as the EDF Harmony prepared for its first official mission. The ship's human crew members would use their quantum abilities to handle space-time navigation, while the alien crew operated the advanced weapons and sensor systems. "We're creating something new," Sandra said thoughtfully. "Not just ships that can bend reality, but a whole new way of exploring space. Human and alien minds working together, each bringing their own way of understanding the universe." Dr. Paul Martinez arrived with the latest research results. "The quantum translator is working better than we hoped. More species are starting to understand how we perceive reality. Some are even developing their own ways to interact with quantum fields, though not as naturally as we do." "And the safety protocols?" Lisa asked. "Perfect so far," Paul assured her. The containment fields keep our reality-bending effects focused where they need to be. No more accidentally turning coffee cups inside out. They all laughed at that, remembering the early accidents during research. Even some of the alien scientists had started to find human quantum accidents amusing rather than terrifying. Ambassador Nash raised his glass in a toast. To the future, where being different makes us stronger together. As they watched, more ships arrived through the station's jump point. Human vessels with their reality-bending drives flew alongside alien ships with their advanced technology. Each brought their own unique way of traveling through space, their own understanding of how the universe worked. You know what the best part is? Lisa said quietly. We didn't have to change who we are. We just had to help them understand us, and be willing to understand them in return. Robert nodded. That's the real breakthrough. Not the technology, or the protocols, or even the joint ships. It's realizing that the universe is big enough for all of us, no matter how differently we see it. The EDF Harmony's engines powered up, its human crew working in perfect sync with their alien colleagues. As the ship moved away from the station, its quantum field stable and controlled, it represented everything they had achieved. They had turned fear into understanding, terror into cooperation, and what seemed like a curse into a gift. Humanity's reality-shattering ships weren't monsters to be feared. They were bridges between different ways of seeing the universe. As the sun set on another day in the galaxy, humans and aliens worked together, each bringing their own unique perspective to the endless task of exploring space. The stars stretched out before them, full of possibilities that neither species could see alone, but together they could imagine anything. And in the end, that was the true power of human ships, not their ability to bend reality, but their role in bringing together minds that saw the universe in wonderfully different ways.